if you're a cricket fan, you'll know how it feels to be the last man coming out to bat in what's been an extremely impressive batting lineup. But you know what? Being a tail-ender has a lot of advantages. No one really expects you to do very much. If you manage to score a few runs, they'll say, wow, that's a bonus. But guess what? When you finish, everybody cheers and claps because it's time to go home. It's all over. You know, all of us have some childhood memory that's probably etched in our minds. It's interesting how, as you grow older, the only memories you have are actually of your childhood. Because, it's amazing how you can remember with great detail what might have happened 40 years ago. But you just can't remember the name of that interesting person you met last night at dinner. I want to start by really telling you a little story about a memory that's etched in my mind. Really a childhood memory. And to do that, what I want to do is to take you back to a little bus stop in Mumbai. And here I am, like a 12, 13-year-old school kid, passionate about cricket, and fancy myself as a bit of a writer, okay? And I've just been I've just sent off this letter to the editor of a magazine called Sports Week. And now, as I'm waiting at the bus stop, I see this newspaper vendor by the side with all those magazines laid out neatly in front of him. And I'm saying, I see the latest issue of Sports Week there. Can I go and take a peek to see if that work of art has found its way into the magazine? And I go, and I, almost wait for a moment when the newspaper vendor is not looking at me, and I turn quickly to the back of the magazine, and guess what? Out there, I see this masterpiece. A letter written by me has actually got published in Sports Week. My joy knew no bounds. I was thrilled. You have no idea what this means. Prakash Iyer never looked so good on paper. And, you might argue now, but come on, that was only a letter to the editor. Not true. It was a work of literary genius. It was an all-time classic. You'll get this bit about literary genius when I tell you what I'd written in the letter. The letter went something like this. Congratulations to Sunil Gavaskar for scoring 100 in the Melbourne Test. Keep it up, Sunny. And if you're wondering how does this qualify as an all-time classic and a futuristic piece of work, remember, it was written 40 years ago, and yet it was less than 140 characters. I think, as I think back, it was this little moment of joy for me, of unbridled joy at seeing my name in print, of having got a letter published, that perhaps suggested to me in some way that maybe I was seeing the first early signs of what my true north might actually have been. And if you think about it, what really qualifies as that moment which might kind of where the lights go off and say, hey, this is really that moment for you? I think it's really a combination of three things. First, it gives you joy. You really enjoy something you've done. Two, it usually leverages something you're very good at, or you think you're very good at. And third, you get recognized for it. And I think when these three come together, you tend to think, maybe I've got something right. And so, there was this little kid who said, I've got this dream, I want to become a writer, maybe even a cricket commentator. But, life, of course, has more interesting things to offer. And as my life unfolded, I kind of found myself going with the flow. And, I found myself going to B school, to business school. And for those of you who may not know it, B school is a code word for another kind of bus stop, where a lot of people who have no idea what they want to do in their lives actually go, spend 2 years waiting for a bus to come along, and at the end of 2 years, you have this rush of buses, all of which come and ferries all these people out to a land which hopefully is a land of plenty. But, for me, it was not just about that. I went to business school, and I think I learned a fair bit, made lots of friends, made relationships which actually lasted forever. Not just that, also saw a hell of a lot of very bright people. And that suddenly gives you a sense of humility, and you suddenly realize, you know what? You're not really as great as you might have been. And just when you had begun to think that getting into this B school was really the biggest achievement of your life, you realize that getting out of B school might actually be the tougher achievement. Like everyone does, I got out too, and then I went to work. I started selling soap, then I sold some cola, sold yellow pages, was part of teams that did some fairly interesting work. I even worked at the bottom of the pyramid. I sold diapers. Don't laugh. Trust me, there is no other business with as many bottoms in it as the diaper business. And as I did that, I suddenly realized that I was a lucky guy. I got to work with some fantastic people. I got to work with people from whom I learned a hell of a lot. And these were salesmen, accountants, occasionally the odd boss, the coffee boy, the lift man, but people from whom I learned a hell of a lot. I learned lessons on life, on leadership, on surviving difficult times. And truly, in that career that I had, and that was close to 25, 30 years, I figured that what gave me the greatest joy was not seeing a couple of market share points go up, was not saying, hey, I built this brand or managed to turn around a business. It was often about the discovery that I had managed to touch somebody else's life. I had managed to, in some way, help another person become just a bit better. So even as I learned a hell of a lot from other people, I found myself finding joy in actually saying, how can I help someone else become just a bit better? There's something else that I figured while I was at work, which was really this whole area of storytelling. Okay? I got to listen to lots of great stories, and I got to tell a few, and I've also learned that, when you're talking to people, you can tell them whatever you like, and you can tell them that's the way to do it. Or if you're under pressure, you can say, don't give up. And they say, yeah, I get it. Tell them a story, and magic happens. Tell them a story, and suddenly what you'll find is that the story ticks. It kind of sets a bell ringing in their heads. It's memorable, and it usually gets people to start reassessing whatever they might have thought was happening in their world. And I then reached a stage where I said, hey, great idea. I think storytelling is a big one. I think I've learned lots of lessons at work. And I put those together to write a book. Okay? And this was a few years ago, and I wrote a book. It was really about winning and winners and what makes teams win. And guess what? Many people say I wrote a book, but I was lucky. It even got published. Not just that, it actually went on to become a reasonably good, a bestseller, got translated into 7, 8 languages, which only tells you that if you have dreams of writing a book, make sure you have lots of friends out there. With all their charity budgets, they wouldn't mind buying a few books. And that's really what happened for me. But one book led to another. And I had a second book that then came out, and I found myself speaking. And I found myself speaking about leadership, about winning, and really it gave me, I suddenly discovered that I was having the time of my life. It also gave me a chance to talk to lots of teams. And I was speaking to teams across companies, across industries, across countries. And guess what? Somewhere along the way, it even got me a chance to go and work with a cricket team, with the Mumbai Indians. And I said, wow, you must be a lucky guy if now you can get paid to go and watch cricket. Life, I think, does interesting things to us. So you have it here now, the story of a little kid who got his highs out of writing that small letter to the editor of Sports Week, to a person who then had fun in a career, working with people, learning from people, working with teams, and now spends his life actually trying to say, hey, how can I help other people unleash the leader within themselves, and what can I do about it? And as I look back on my career, and I look at a lot of young people sitting over here, I'm trying to ask myself, are there some lessons that we might all be able to take away which might help us, and it might help you now as you look for your true north? And to do that, what I thought I would do is to take you back to my favorite place. So let's go back to the bus stop. Imagine now that you're waiting for a bus to take you to your destination, to take you to the land that you've been dreaming about. And as you wait for that bus, and as you try and get onto that journey, maybe there are some lessons that we can all learn on what it takes to find your true north. I'd like to offer you 5 lessons. Lesson number 1, you know what? There is seldom a direct bus that will take you to your true north. Okay? Very often, that journey requires you to go someplace, change buses, go somewhere else, find a new mode of transport, and finally, you'll get there. The mistake some of us can make is to keep waiting for that direct bus to come along. And chances are that bus will never come. It doesn't come because maybe the bus doesn't exist, or more likely, you're standing in the wrong bus stop. So here's a simple piece of advice. Start the journey, get onto the bus, get moving. And once you get moving, you will suddenly discover that you're making progress towards your true north. You will suddenly discover that something is happening. I often think that, you know what, finding your true north is not the tough bit. The real tough bit is letting true north find you. Most of us are stuck hiding in a bus stop waiting for a bus, not willing to venture out, not willing to take a chance, not willing to go out and say, let me see what's happening outside, and maybe I'll find my true north. So that's really lesson number one. Lesson number two, and anyone who's waited at a bus stop will know this, you know what? As you choose which bus to get into, don't worry about how good the bus is. Worry about where is this bus going. Most of us make the mistake of looking for the nicer looking buses rather than saying, hey, where will this bus take me? So as you make your career choices, don't get caught up in saying, how nice is this bus? But worry about saying, will this bus take me where I want to go? And the truth is, as you start making that journey, you will probably discover that, you know what, you're not in the right bus. It doesn't matter. Try and see what can I make of it, but more likely you'll find there's another bus next to you which will take you to your destination. You know the mistake which many of us make? We start saying, nah, I love these air-conditioned buses. And these pushback seats are so nice. I don't want to leave this bus. So even though the bus will take you to a destination you don't want to go to, it takes you in a direction you don't want to go to, you stay on because of the air conditioning, because the music is nice, because the seats are very comfortable. Don't let that happen. Don't let those comforts trap you and stop you from getting to your chosen destination. Lesson number 3. Okay. I think it's not so much about saying, you know what, can I find the right bus? It's usually about saying, can I find the right mindset? What you need is a mindset which says, once I'm on this journey, what can I learn from here? What can I learn from this ride that will help me to get to where I want to go? Don't worry about what's going on. Don't say that once I get to my true north, I will then do what I need to do. Do what you want to do right now, and you will find that you'll get to where you want to be. In my case, you know, I went to work and I used to sell soap, but you wouldn't believe it. I used to write my tour notes like I was writing an entry for a Pulitzer Prize. I would address my teams during our monthly meetings like, you know, I had invited Martin Luther King to come and tell them, I have a dream that Lux will one day become the soap of this country. But you need to find opportunities to continue to nurse that fire, to continue to nurse that passion, keep the dream alive. And trust me, no matter what you do, no matter where you go, you will find opportunities. You will find a chance which allows you to kind of wet your feet, to kind of dabble in what you want to do. Do it. Lesson number 4 is really this. You know what? Life is not a journey you need to travel on alone. In the bus, you will find lots of co-passengers and learn to enjoy the company of your co-passengers. So as you're trying to journey towards your goal, make sure that you have fun with all the people who are traveling with you. Many of us get so caught up in being alone in this journey. We get caught up that I need to get that seat, so we run and grab a seat rather than offering that seat to someone else. I discovered in my life that most of my dreams came true because I was lucky I had co-passengers who helped me to find what I was looking for. And I think the truth is we all have those co-passengers, we all have those fellow travelers with us, but we are too busy worrying about ourselves. We are too busy searching for our own goals, and we don't care about other people. The truth is, if you help other people to achieve success and happiness, they will do a lot more for you than you might have ever thought possible. Which brings me really to the last lesson, the 5th one, which is, you know what? Finding true north is not so much about the destination. It's about the journey. Learn to enjoy the ride. Okay? Don't get so obsessed about where you want to go that you forget to enjoy the small things that are happening around you. You know, as I went to work, you know, I suddenly discovered that, hey, to me, it's not so much about saying there's a book or that I work for a cricket team, as much as saying that, you know what, I've had fun. It's been a hell of a ride. I've had great fun on that journey. And it's been great fun because, hey, you need to kind of say, I want to enjoy this journey. I want to enjoy the ride. And therefore, as you wait to get onto a bus, make sure that you don't forget to have fun. In fact, don't forget to also look around at the newspaper vendor next door and the magazines that he might actually be selling out there. I just want to end now with one last story. I've often felt that the one thing that seems to stop many of us from achieving our true north is a desire for more. More. More money, more financial security, more wealth, more. And I think that's something that can keep us all kind of away from where we might want to go. And I personally find inspiration and solace, perhaps, from a little story about Joseph Heller, the author of Catch-22, best-selling author of Catch-22. The story goes that Joseph Heller was invited by a friend to go and have dinner at a party that a friend of his was hosting, an investment banker in New York was hosting. And Joseph Heller said, of course, I'll come along. As you can see, authors usually like a free meal. So Joseph Heller goes along, and while they are there, he's sipping his wine, and his friend looks at Joseph Heller and says, do you recognize that our host, the investment banker, probably makes more money in a day than you have made in a lifetime out of your books? Joseph Heller quickly takes another sip, and he says, yeah, maybe that's true, but you know what? I have something that he will never have. And the friend says, what's that? He says, enough. I have enough. Enough said. Thank you very much.